Welcome, degenerates, to Place Your Bets. I'm Tyler James. He's the one and only Eric Hansen. We cover Notre Dame football, recruiting, and more for InsideNDSports.com on the Rivals Network. And we also try our hand at prop bets for every Notre Dame football game during the season. Eric, you will be glad to know we showed a little bit of competence this past week. You and I both had 3-2 records on our prop bets for the Cal game. But the Insider Lounge took us to school with a 4-1 record. And really did good work. Both you and I missed the same questions we missed. Who would lead the team in tackles? And we also underestimated the scoring that Notre Dame would do in the second half. But the Insider Lounge only missed the tackling prop bet.
I think everybody missed that one.
Yeah. I don't know that a lot of people had Howard Cross in their submissions there. Our season standings are now up to me with 8-7. Just holding on to that lead, just barely above 500. The Insider Lounge pushing ahead to 6-9, and then Eric still down there at 4-11, but a lot better than the 1-9 from last week. So we're seeing some improvement. I think your season may be mirroring Notre Dame's season so far. So maybe that's something to monitor moving forward.
Well, I don't know that I'm going to help myself tonight because my prop bets tonight are more, this is what should happen, not necessarily what will happen. So we'll see.
All right. Well, let's see how we do. The first one I have for us is over under 375.5 yards of total offense for Notre Dame.
Well, I went back and looked. Notre Dame is playing North Carolina for the third straight year. And part of that is because North Carolina got added in 2020 when they were originally not on there during the pandemic and the schedule shifted. So in 2021, when they were in a shootout with North Carolina, they had 523 yards. In 2020, when they tried to play a ball control game, they still had 476. Now, the high water mark for this year is 351 versus Marshall. The most with Drew Pine is 297. And so this is a should prop bet. It's got to be over. If it's not over, there's a problem with this offense being too constipated. Florida A&M got 335 yards on this North Carolina defense, which will be the worst defense Notre Dame sees all season. So over for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go over as well. North Carolina, you mentioned 335. That's the lowest amount of yards they've given up all season. App State had 649 and Georgia State had 421. So UNC is allowing 468.3 yards per game. I think for as bad as Notre Dame's offense has been so far at times this season, I think they're still going to be able to get close to, if not over, 400 yards against this North Carolina defense. So I'm gonna go with over as well. Next one I have for us is over under 275.5 passing yards for North Carolina quarterback Drake Maye.
That one was a tough one. Again, I think Notre Dame is going to try to hold down the plays. I believe Drake's lowest passing total, and again, it's against Florida A&M, App State, and Georgia State, is 284. I think they're going to want to try to be pretty balanced in their attack, and they've done a good job of doing both things well, running and passing. So I'm actually going to go under with this. I'm going to go slightly under the 284 mark.
All right, we are in agreement again. The one thing I do trust about Notre Dame's team is the defense. It's the pass rush. Surprisingly, it's the secondary. I don't know that I would have thought I would have said that a month ago, but the secondary I think has been played pretty well. I know they haven't been able to force turnovers, intercept passes, and let's even get a lot of pass breakups. But they are keeping the opposing teams in check. And I think that Al Golden is going to have a good game plan going into this North Carolina game. I like that Notre Dame has played North Carolina the last 2 seasons. Granted, it's not the same team or the same quarterback, but I do think that Notre Dame is going to be able to keep Drake Maye from doing what he's been doing so far this season in terms of the passing yards he's accumulated.
Yeah, and I like when I was talking to Al Golden, the fact that he kind of revealed that he's been watching a lot of last year's tape because he feels like what North Carolina was doing offensively last year is closer to what they're going to try to do to Notre Dame, that they haven't really shown everything at this point. So he was watching Sam Howell and then kind of projecting Drake Maye into that role. And I thought that was kind of interesting.
All right, next one I have for us. Will Notre Dame win the time of possession?
Well, neither of these teams are on the positive side of it. I think Notre Dame is 72nd in the country out of 131, and North Carolina's 83rd. It's not as bad as it sounds. I mean, they're both having more than 29 minutes per game, so it's not that far from being an even split. I don't think it's a priority for North Carolina. I think it is for Notre Dame, and I think their running game will be good enough that they are able to get the time of possession advantage here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Notre Dame. I think I don't think Marcus Freeman didn't necessarily commit to whether or not they want to play in a similar way that they attacked Ohio State in terms of like holding the ball as much as possible. I think there will be a little bit of that. I don't think it'll be as extreme. I don't think that Notre Dame's.
I think they'll hold it by running efficiency more than waiting to snap the ball after, at the end of the play clock. I think that's where the difference is.
And so I think North Carolina hasn't been winning the time of possession, so I don't necessarily expect them to do that against Notre Dame either. All right, next one, over under 2.5 sacks for Notre Dame's defense.
Well, North Carolina is giving up an average of 2 per game, and that's against a depleted Florida A&M team, an Appy State team, and a Georgia State team. So I would say, especially given the way Notre Dame played against Cal. Now, Cal was not a good team coming in at protecting its quarterback, but I still think that Notre Dame will get the over on that. I will say 3 or more.
All right, I'm worried that we're going to have a clean sweep here in terms of being the same on all.
I'm trying to text the people in the Insider Lounge to give me the right answers.
I went with over as well. Like you mentioned, North Carolina has allowed 6 sacks this season. Notre Dame seemed to finally get that going against Cal, and I think find some confidence in their pass rush. Drake Maye is going to be elusive and make it hard for Notre Dame to track him down. But I think Notre Dame is going to get after him. The only some little hesitation I have is wondering if the defensive game plan is similar to the Ohio State game plan, where it didn't seem that they were being too aggressive in trying to blitz CJ Stroud. I mean, Notre Dame was getting after him at some points, but they weren't being very successful at it. So I wonder if there's any concern, like, okay, let's not try to blitz Drake Maye too much because that could put us in a bad spot. But I think over is how it will go for Notre Dame, and they'll be able to sack him a number of times.
Right. But I mean, even if you're not doing a lot of blitzing, the 2 Ohio State tackles are ranked number 1 and number 2 in terms of pro prospects. That's not where North Carolina's tackles are right now.
No, North Carolina, it's bizarre. Like, it's a new team, but it seems like the same team. They're the same version of themselves over and over again. And I think the hope at North Carolina is that it's different, but it's the opponents they've played this year. It's way too hard to tell what the differences actually are. All right, next one. Over under 5.5 receptions for Notre Dame tight end Michael Mayer.
Again, this is a should have one, and so I did not consult the Insider Lounge on this. But my thought is, in Drew Pine's second game, we're done with the first game jitters against the worst defense Notre Dame will see all season. If Notre Dame can't use its best player in a setting like that, then there really is something wrong with the offense. So I'm going over.
Yeah, I'm going over as well. He's averaging 5 a game. Only had 2 against Cal. Had as many as 8 against Marshall. But I'm in agreement with you, and I think you're setting some pretty high stakes for this game if they're not doing certain things. I think you're going to start sounding like the Insider Lounge and want some heads to roll if Notre Dame can't have a successful offensive attack against North Carolina, which I think is a fair standard for Notre Dame to meet.
If I don't have a winning record next week, there will be something besides coffee in this mug.
All right. Well, let's wrap up with our final score predictions for Notre Dame, North Carolina. What do you got, Eric?
I was stunned. I kind of got coaxed into my final score prediction a little bit in the live chat today, I gave what I thought Notre Dame would give up, and then I said I think they'll end up winning the game. And the line on this has moved back and forth. I think right now North Carolina might be a 1.5-point favorite. But the over-under was really interesting because I didn't look at that until I made my score prediction. My score prediction after all that is Notre Dame 27, North Carolina 24, and I think the over-under is 59. So that shocked me that the people in Vegas also thought this was going to be more of a ball control game because North Carolina is getting pretty close to 59 points by itself in most games.
Yeah, that's true. I'm gonna go with Notre Dame 34, North Carolina 31. I've really struggled with this. I don't really trust I don't trust Notre Dame this season, and I don't trust North Carolina based on the last 2 seasons. And so I don't know if what I should weigh more heavily. I think North Carolina obviously probably should get more of a clean slate considering that the last 2 seasons don't necessarily impact this season, but I just don't trust that their defense is good enough and that their offense is good enough compared to Notre Dame's defense to be able to outscore Notre Dame. You wonder, like Marcus Freeman says, we don't want to get in a shootout. I don't know that Notre Dame could feel a ton of confidence having to score more than 30 points, but I think the defense has played well, so maybe it can keep North Carolina lower than that. But I'm not really sure. This one is the one I've honestly the game I thought the most about in terms of the final score prediction. I don't know that I've given as much thought to the previous games, and we'll see how it plays out. I don't really feel good about it, and this is a classic stay away game. If you're actually gambling, I would not put money on the line with these 2 teams playing each other on Saturday.
Here's a thing where I think it could go most wrong for our score predictions, and not necessarily in who wins, but in the how much the points are. One is Josh Downs is likely going to play. He was one of the best receivers in the country last year. Right. He's played 1 game for them so far, and he was a matchup that Notre Dame couldn't solve last year. Now, my sense is Tariq Bracy will be who's assigned to him most of the time. They'll move him around the formation, but he's most dangerous when he's in the slot. But we'll see how that plays out. The other thing is they had a bye last week, and I think at least defensively they can show some different looks and different packages that they didn't show, that they put in specially for Notre Dame. So that could, that means Drew Pine's going to have to do a lot of adjusting at the line of scrimmage, and Tommy's going to have to be on that phone doing a lot of adjusting too.
Yeah, full well that the ABC cameras are going to be all over Tommy Rees this week because they probably don't care if Tommy doesn't like if he's being shown or not, whereas I would have thought that NBC would have. But yeah, it'll be I think it should be an interesting game as a viewer, but yeah, in terms of a gambler, I don't really know what to expect from this team or from either team, and I think the potential is there for either of them to. I mean, I wouldn't be if it ends up being a blowout in either direction. I guess I don't necessarily think that I would be terribly surprised. It would be somewhat surprising if North Carolina scores a ton of points against Notre Dame, but I wouldn't rule it out. If Notre Dame's offense plays really bad, then that could give North Carolina all kinds of different opportunities.
The 2020 game was so fascinating because I think it was maybe tied at halftime, and then Notre Dame got a lead and was able to put those multiple tight ends in the game, run the ball. And then North Carolina was kind of in desperation mode trying to come back and made some mistakes. And I think Notre Dame does need to play with the lead. I mean, this can't be a come from behind victory, although App State may beg to differ since they scored 40 points in the 4th quarter against North Carolina.
Yeah, that's something else. Well, that's it for Place Your Bets this week. If you're an Inside ND Sports subscriber, make sure you log on to the Insider Lounge and make your predictions there. Go ahead and comment your score predictions below for Saturday's game. If you want more video content from us, like this video and subscribe to our channel. We'll be back after the bye week to make prop bets for the Las Vegas showdown with BYU. I don't know. Maybe we should try to film it from a casino in Las Vegas, but I think we'll have to figure that out in a couple weeks. And if you want to hear from us again, tune in on Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern for our Monday Night Live show as we recap the North Carolina game.